Hello and welcome to this week's episode of How to Be a Great GM. My name is Guy and today we are looking at why you must care about everything. Everything in your game you must care about. Why? Well, I'll get there. But before I do, remember to hit that like button or the subscribe button. It's just a simple click, it costs you nothing, and you'd be amazed at what happens in the studio when you do. The goblins do this little dance. It's really cute and super awesome. One day I'll catch it on film. But please, if this video is going to be helpful to you, hit those buttons. No stranger to this channel, Easy Roller Dice have just got the most amazing range of dice that you could possibly imagine. They have got the most beautiful dice that I have seen. Practical, usable dice like this dice case, for example. I love the little inset windows so I can see which set this is. If you're like me, you have certain sets for playing, for GMing, for different characters. And then this particular set that is in my palm, my paws today, which I particularly like, is a brass set of dice. Look at that. A brass set of dice with beautiful green writing on it. Nice and clear writing too, I have to say. And very weighty. Absolutely weighty. I love the metal dice that Easy Roller is making. And of course this dice holder, really cool. So dice are not going to be rattling around, running around. You're not going to be dropping caltrops because this little dice, this little brass dice, is going to it really will be the end of days for anyone who steps on it. Nonetheless, Easy Roller Dice making today's video possible. Big thanks to them, and check them out down below. We have an affiliate with them, so if you want to support the channel, use the link and make everyone happy, including your dice collection. We're talking about why you must care about everything in your game. Now, I know this sounds like a bizarre notion. In terms of, I do care about my game. I'm the GM after all, so I have to care, right? But what are we talking about when we're talking about caring about your game? Well, there are three areas that you as the GM are primarily responsible for that you need to apply a different type of care to in order to exercise complete care. What? Your NPCs. Although you should care about your NPCs in terms of their OGAS, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, last week's video on NPC AI will make it clearer to you, but your NPCs, not only do you have to care about what equipment they have, what are their goals and stakes and all those kinds of wonderful things, but you also need to care when you are impersonating that NPC. A lot of GMs will just have an NPC and they will play that NPC as a piece of cardboard who doesn't care about its existence. This is a major mistake. It is a huge mistake. The vendor that is going to be selling something to the PCs, the PCs say, oh, I want to bargain with the vendor. Turning it into a dice rolling opposition competition means that you don't care about that vendor. If the vendor was a real entity, a complete NPC, that vendor would not just go, yeah, all right, fine, oh, I failed on my roll, take it or leave it. Well, they might have to because that's what the rules say, but they're not going to react in that way. They're going to be very unhappy. You're taking the food right out of the mouths of my children. I will have to close shop because you're trying to buy these things too low for me. I cannot possibly sell this to you. If you care as the NPC, your NPCs become a lot more real. So even the ogre who's attacking the party, the ogre needs to care about what they're doing. Now, the ogre, you might argue, has very limited intelligence, but it still will want to do stuff. Its OGAS is still going to be operating. So the ogre might very well go, yeah, I'm attacking, and I really care, but I care about my mates. So when they get taken out, I'm not just going to get, oh, carry on what I'm doing. I'm going to get really angry or really sad or really dejected or suddenly realize that life is full of questions. And why are we fighting after all when we could be putting our gigantic size to massive amounts of money-making opportunities in the construction industry? Okay, maybe you don't have to go that far in terms of caring about the ogre, but the ogre should care about things. Another type of caring is world space caring. Now, world space means your entire setting. It could just be a planet, it could be a continent, it could just be a little town, it could be an entire galaxy. But the idea is that your world space will want two things: to survive and to continue. Now, surviving could very well mean that the Empire needs to continue to survive. It could mean the forest wants to survive. It doesn't have a particular intelligence to do so, but it has a process that causes it to continue to survive. If it is chopped down, the forest no longer survives. Why should you care? Well, because if the forest is chopped down, all of those wonderful trees that were locking the soil in place, the roots die out, the soil no longer can sustain water, so the entire area becomes arid, it turns into sand, and now you have a desert. And this can happen in the space of a few decades. So you should really care, not only in fantasy world, but in real life too, folks. Desertification is real. And my cold prevents me from saying exactly the right word. Now, the world space is going to want to survive. That means that noble houses are going to want to survive. They are going to care about what is happening in their world. Far too often we get these very unaffected, or for lack of the right word, these disaffected responses. The NPCs kill the heir of a noble house. As the GM, if you care as you are the house, the noble house, our heir has just been killed. We don't have another heir. That means that when the current ruler dies, the whole noble house will vanish. We need to stop that from happening. We need to have a plan. We need to get another heir, or we need to adopt someone and make them our heir. Do you see how by caring about the world space and everything that's in that world space that the PCs are interacting with, suddenly a whole adventure comes out of nowhere? The noble house, if you didn't care about it, yeah, the heir was killed. Okay, cool, moving on, next adventure. Where's my next adventure coming from? I don't know where my next adventure is coming from. You do, you just didn't care enough to actually realize what was going on. Finally, rules are the other area that we as GMs are responsible for. And I know I am severely guilty of this, is I don't care about the rules. And I should. And so should you. We need to care that the rules are being applied consistently and fairly to all of the situations that our player characters and NPCs find themselves in. We need to care about those rules. So being flippant about them or just not caring, as I have done in the past, is actually a great loss to you as the game master. Those rules are there and are designed to help us run the games better and to make sure that our games are a fair space for everyone to play in. That means we should really care about them. We're not going to embody the rules and care from that perspective. We're not going to fight for those rules. Those are the rules, and we either accept them or we change them, but we need to care enough about them to make sure that we are applying them equally and fairly. So that's why I feel that caring is something that we really, really need to have in all of our games. Your task for this week is to care more. Care about your NPCs, care about your world space and everything that's within that world space, and care about your rules. This isn't a specific exercise per se, but in your next game, I suggest that if you care about the NPC that your characters are going to encounter, you're going to find that NPC experience a whole lot more rewarding than you have in the past. Or if you care about your world space, just sit back after the characters have done something and ask yourself, how does this affect my world space right now? How does it affect the immediate family or the institution or the etc., etc.? And what are they going to do about it to try and get it back to continuing to what it was and to surviving so that it doesn't die out? It's an interesting space to put your head into, and it allows you to have a much more engaging game, in my opinion. Anyway, notes on these videos are now available on our website, www.greatgamemaster.com. The social media goblin, thank you to her, has put notes on each of these videos, so you can click on the video section of the website and find the video and then see the notes that go with it. Useful if you want to reflect back and to make your own notes from. Anyway, until next time, a big thank you to our patrons who make this channel possible, and to you for watching all the way through until the end. Until next week, I wish you and yours the very happiest of gaming.